My default setting is I'm bucking. I don't believe you. I don't believe none of y'all. That's my default setting. I don't believe any of you guys, because when you tell me that they didn't know who this third-party person was, and then the DNC had money and they got rid of this person, I'm going to say, no, they didn't know who the third-party person was because they didn't show up until the presidential election. I'm going to say I'm tired of third-party people showing up and never running for mayor, for dog catcher. What about student council? What about any type of a board membership for a union, anywhere, anything? Have you done anything? And then when you come on the scene to run for president against people who have been, for good or bad, for better or for worse, running their entire lives to run for positions that service the people, and you say, well, look at me, look how bad these two are, that's not their fault anymore. Can I get a pushback on that? Because I'm not hearing that here. I'm not hearing that. And I need to know how, if we're going to be talking about if we're going to talk about just let anybody come on and anybody sign their name on there, I'm calling bullshit. How about that? Because I need to see that you've done something, that you've cared somewhere, and you're not coming in to just hijack even your 15 people. Welcome, people, to On Your Left with Drill Sergeant Doug. Yes, I am Drill Sergeant Doug. And this is a roundtable. It's a political roundtable, but the kind that doesn't suck. We don't just have liars. We don't just have people spewing one wing or the other talking points for the sake of disagreement and for entertainment. Can you believe that? It's actually informative, but also hopefully entertaining. So that's what we do here. Thank you for showing up. And my panel today, we got some stars. We always have courage candidates who are a part of citizens' impeachment movement that we know when they get there on day one, we want this guy out. And we're not making any qualms about that. You know where we stand. We also always have a political insider, someone who has spent time in D.C., and can give us a perspective from what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it smells like there. And we also always have let's call them an influencer of sorts, an activist or an influencer, and someone this time who I think is not only funny, but is a fellow veteran, and we've been getting close since our last protest. So let's talk about Caesar. Caesar is our influencer for today, and we have our political insider for today, Jessica Denson. I don't know, you may have heard of her. She's only the person who started to remove the regime along with Cliff Cash, and who has been out here working for years with people like Al Green and others. There's too many to mention. And our candidates for today, they're both from Connecticut this time. And we have Andrew Rice for Congress. We have Joseph Perez Caputo for Congress. I just wanted to make sure I said that right. Sorry. Joseph Perez Caputo for Congress. And I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. We're going to go around. But first, I need you to know what it is we're doing here. This is a topic that I've been dying. And I'm glad we have the people on today to talk about it because, like I said, we're going to have a big difference in opinions. Limitations on democracy. Okay? Yeah, we're going there. We need to talk about capitalism. And is it a limitation, or has it just been not regulated enough? You know what's coming there. We're going to talk about a two-party system. We're going to talk about the fourth estate capture, which is the reason why I now have to exist on YouTube. We're going to talk about comfortable politicians. We're going to talk about that. Term limits. We need to talk about these things because our democracy has been taken over by a right-wing fascist regime, and we're all left here stuck trying to figure out how that happened. What are our limitations on democracy? And we have people that we could be voting for in the next election, and I need to know what they think about fixing that, curtailing those. And with that being said, get ready for a good one, guys. Here we go. Let's start. Introductions all the way around. Caesar, tell us who you are.
I'm Trayvon Caesar. I go by the Angry Pharaoh on Instagram. I am also a part of Owl Media. I'm a cinematographer and videographer by trade. I'm also a Marine Corps veteran, 4 years, and I have been, since the last election, I've been going around between North Carolina to Washington, D.C. with my friends to document everything that's been going on and, get on camera the active resistance that has been put against this fascist regime. And it's been fun and tiring. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's tiring for sure. Fun, maybe. We'll find out. Let's get to Jessica Denson. Jessica, let everybody know who you are.
I am Jessica Denson. I am the founder of the Removal Coalition. And as you mentioned, Doug, under that umbrella, the Remove the Regime movement, which we started last summer, had massive, successful protests lobbying Congress in September, again in November, have made massive progress in mainstreaming the impeachment remedy and getting a 77% increase in support for impeachment between force votes. This, for me, follows years and years of successful litigation against Donald Trump in the courts. And my one solitary, unambiguous mission is to get Donald Trump and this entire illegal regime removed from the White House. So no sleep until that happens.
No sleep till Brooklyn. Listen, we're going to go ahead and talk about that probably first after introducing our citizens impeachment candidates here. Listen, guys, this is important. We need to know who we're voting for. We have candidates out there that are doing the thing, not just saying the words. First, let's bring up Andrew Rice. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Rice. I'm running against 35-year incumbent Rosa DeLauro in Connecticut's 3rd Congressional District. As mentioned, I am a courage candidate and fully embrace impeaching Donald J. Trump and multiple members of his administration that have violated our Constitution. A little bit about me. My background is in science. I was a scientist up until October when I resigned to run for Congress. Some of my hobbies include baking, and so if you see me doing weird movements, it is because I am making cookies. I have a DTC meeting tonight, and I like to try and make a baked good to bring to the meetings to soften the blow that I am challenging, one of their incumbents. But after seeing the way that the Democratic Party has failed to stand up against this regime, how they have failed to stand up against corporations, and how they have failed to fight for policies that would actually address working class people's needs, I decided that it was time to stop complaining about the world and try to start fixing it. And so I decided to run for Congress back in October to address some of these issues.
Outstanding, sir. And, if baked sweets aren't a trump card, right, to bring, I don't know what is. Good work. And last but definitely not least, Joseph Perez Caputo. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
Hi, everyone.
Tell us about yourself.
So my name is Joseph Perez Caputo. I am Sicilian and Boricua. I am running in Connecticut's 4th Congressional District, right next to Andrew. And I'm taking on 17-year incumbent Representative Jim Himes, who I believe has not fought for us at a level that I think is worth fighting for. Recently, he's been enjoying a scandal where he's worked with Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, to force the FISA vote, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And he's been working pretty hard to help give the White House a gift, right? He's been trying to give the White House a serious, worse than Orwellian surveillance state win. So we've been on the ground and online fighting that. essentially switched much of my campaign effort into winning that, because even if I succeed in ballot access and then win the Democratic nomination and then win the election, this is still an act we need to defeat on a serious level. I am, as far as I am aware, the only active law student and congressional candidate out of anyone running in the country. It is exactly as hard as it sounds, but I am enjoying it. It is. It's made me fit to fight, and it's made me eager to get things done.
If the theme of the show is no sleep, then you indeed embody that, sir.
In a very unhealthy way, I do. We need more balance than
Yes.
that, but I am on that level right now.
I'll tell you what. I want to start with Jessica, because when we're talking, well, both of you have incumbents that have been there for, what is it, together 50, 60 years, 35 plus, 30, 25? I forgot what the other one was, but my God, uncomfortable. Right? We need to make these people uncomfortable. We have too many comfortable politicians, and we're going to talk about that. But are there limits to this democracy? Can be summed up as a question for the last year in the two sides talking about impeachment. No, it won't work. No, it can't work. It's impossible because nobody's going to vote for it. And people like Jessica, who've been saying, what the hell else do we have? What else do we have? This may be the first limitation of our democracy that we've found that we cannot overcome. Jessica, I'm going to give you the floor. You can explain why. Why not?
Well, I just wanted to say Joseph and Andrew's running mates sound like, I don't know them specifically, but they sound like this class of politicians that I just want to emphasize how deeply the majority of the members of Congress have betrayed this country. My on-the-ground activism started in January of 2025 when I got myself to DC with a few dozen people standing in the bitter cold to try to plead with Congress to reject Trump's presidency under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. This whole administration is illegal since day one. He was banned from the presidency for his role in the deadly insurrection on January 6, 2021. This man should never have been let into office. And because these people are so inept, so tailored to their own self-preservation, cannot think outside of the box, in the name of a peaceful transfer of power, they let this felonious pedophile domestic terrorist walk into our presidency once again, and he has been trying to burn things to the ground since then. And so I shifted from that remedy, which should have blocked him, to the one remedy, as you mentioned, Doug, that our Constitution prescribes for removing a lawless president, Article 2, Section 4. And as you said, their shameful attitude about this is it's not politically viable. We did it twice before. It's not going to work. But now it might hurt our chances in the midterms, which is so deeply disconnected from the pulse of this country who is utterly disgusted at their spinelessness and inaction. And we have just been refusing to accept that construct. This is what we have. You know, I often tell the people on my viewers on my show about the example of South Korea. They had a president who wanted to institute martial law. What did their opposition leader do? Their opposition leader live streamed his way climbing over barricades to get back into the building and vote that down. And where is their insurrectionist president sitting right now? In prison for life. Okay, the world examples from South Korea to Brazil put our lawmakers to absolute shame. You must understand how deeply these people have betrayed us, how much they have not honored the oath that people like Caesar have taken to uphold and defend this country, and how much blood, frankly, is on all of their hands across the aisle, with the exception of one man who has had the courage to force a vote on articles of impeachment, Representative Al Green, for allowing this to continue day by day and giving us any of these baseless excuses for not taking the action that will get us out of it.
I like the idea that other people have done this here and there. Those kind of practical examples may just fly in the face of, is this a limit to democracy? Do we need something else? And I, of course, am asking this in the most academic way because believe it or not, when this is done, we're going to have to find something different than what we've been doing. And having this conversation now rather than later ensures that when we do get rid of this clown, the person that comes next isn't just another dictator. Because that's how this usually works. Am I right? In history, that's how this usually works, unless we're planning for it beforehand. Caesar, I'm like, well, you know what? Yeah, I want you to reply. She mentioned you. And anybody now, we can all jump in with your thoughts, with your ideas on this impeachment, the fact that it has been, we've seen it happen in other places. Dictators get jailed, get impeached, and get out of there. Why it won't work here? But Caesar, I'd love to know your thoughts on what Jessica just said.
Honestly, I'm exhausted by how many times this question has come to Congress's doorstep and how many times Congress has either failed to act on it or completely ignored it. And God bless, Representative Green. Love that man. But it, like just said, it's kind of weird that he's been the only one consistently demanding this be done. And it's just weird. It's like the more I've learned as I've been traveling back and forth about the inner workings of Congress and how they all talk to each other, how they all shake hands together, how they all yell at each other when they don't agree, how they placate to each other when they do agree and stuff like that. Just it's opened my eyes to just how disconnected Congress is as a whole from the American people when it comes to what the American people want versus what they seem to be saying we need. And to see them still, while we're currently in the middle of a war that they know and have openly admitted that they did not authorize, but have still voted twice now to not do anything about that. It's a part of me has no confidence in the articles of impeachment, at least as of right now, because of what they're allowing to be done on their watch. Because for me, it's for them to fully commit to the impeachment process, they would also have to fully commit to accepting their responsibility and letting all this other stuff happen. And they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to do, at least.
I just want to jump in, guys, for 1 second. I'm so sorry because I have to run in literally 3 minutes. Before I leave you, I just wanted to give you a call to action, which is that, yes, Green has been the only one to force a vote. We have been trying with everything to change that. And there is other set of articles of impeachment on file right now in the House Resolution 1155. These were filed just over a week or just about a week ago. Just about 2 weeks ago when Trump made those genocidal threats to Iran. Representative John Larson of Connecticut. Wait, is one of you running against John Larson? No. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't mishear that. John Larson of Connecticut. All of this is a play. He's in a fight for his life, for his seat for the first time. And this is all a play, but I don't really care what it is. We're going to take advantage of it. These articles are on file. We are trying desperately to get Rep. Larson to force a vote on them. You can call his office at 202-225-2265. The details are at removetheregime.com. Don't be gaslit about this 25th Amendment bullshit. That is a total cop-out from members of Congress. All the pressure should be on impeachment. And as shameful as these people are, like Caesar's describing them, I don't care. I act like a little 5-year-old who's like, oh, you took an oath? You got to uphold that oath. That's just the only option you have. So everybody, please go to removetheregime.com and make those phone calls, because if anything is going to change this, it's us.
Amen.
So let's talk about that. You have people running for their lives for the first time in Connecticut. And thank you for being with us, Jess. And you guys, why? Maybe that is the reason why. Some people say, well, impeachment won't work, or the biggest problem is these comfortable politicians that thank goodness it seems this time around people are for the first time, or at least the first time on my radar, trying to make them uncomfortable. Talk about this. Let's start with Andrew. Just picking one. You're running against somebody who's been there for what, 35 years?
Yep.
How has that destroyed your district, this democracy? How can we get rid of that? And what do you plan on doing about that when you get there?
I mean, so I think so running for office has made me realize that so many of these problems are all interconnected and intertwined. And if you go to solve one problem, you can't, because unless you basically solve all of the problems, you can't solve any individual problem because they're all mingled into one another. And at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of this is a failure of the capitalist system and the control that corporations have over our politicians. So when you have the Congress saying, oh, we don't want this war in Iran, we didn't authorize it, you might not have authorized it, but you still wanted this war. If you didn't want war, you would not have spent $960 billion of our taxpayer dollars to fund an imperial war machine. If you did not want war, you would not take tens of thousands of dollars from all of these war contractors whose sole purpose is to generate profit and to generate value for their shareholders. And one of the best ways of doing that is to ensure that there are these never-ending wars. So when you have these establishment Democrats and these establishment Republicans going at one another, it to me is just one big circus show, because at the end of the day, they are all funded by the same corporations. And so I think one of the limitations of our democracy right now is that we do allow corporate funding for elections. We do allow candidates to accept tens of thousands of dollars in these conglomerates, again, whose only sole focus is for profit and shareholder value. And so part of running for office isn't just advocating for different policy, it's also advocating for a change of mind, a change of how we view our daily lives. And instead of waking up every day and saying, how am I going to make profit? I think we should be waking up every day saying, how am I going to help push society forward? How do I help myself? By helping my neighbor, by helping my friends? Because at the end of the day, the society should be about collective action. It should be about collaboration, and it should not be about people trying to, get theirs before the other person gets his. And a lot of this reminds me of the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven, when Charlie sings, the more you give, the more you're going to get. And that is the mentality that I would like to see in our Congress, is that the more we give of ourselves, the more everyone gets in return.
I see you shaking the head over and over again, Joseph. Go ahead.
That was one of my, first off, I agree with everything Andrew said. Secondly, All Dogs Go to Heaven was one of my favorite movies growing up. And on hard days for this campaign, I do sing in my head, you can't keep a good dog down. That is definitely something that has happened as I'm having a low moment driving from place to place. But yeah, I think that, overturning Citizens United, right? Like getting corporate money out of politics, to echo what was said earlier about impeachment, when you have people who are afraid to do their jobs, right? Like I can't go to work and then say, oh, this can't be done. They're just going to hire the guy who's going to figure out how to do it. So Congress has gotten used to this idea that they don't have to complete the mission. They've gotten used to this idea that they can rule over us rather than aid us. They've gotten used to this idea that they are somehow the elite and not a public servant. And when you have a bunch of different policies, whether it's pre-Reagan, racial, patriarchal systems, or post-Reagan kind of decay that has been coming in harder and harder ever since, when you have these policies in play that insulate them from accountability and insulate them from actually doing their job and impeaching, I mean, there's nothing you can do but topple them, because they're never going to really operate on the principle of caring about us. They don't really care about us.
Anybody wants just open floor. So.
So I'll go back
he's spitting right now. I don't really know.
I go back to also. I forgot to mention, about impeachment. There is a high bar to get a conviction in the Senate, but for me, the impeachment vote is not necessarily about actively achieving impeachment and removal. It is about getting people on the record their failure to uphold their oath to the Constitution, because when shit goes even more south, I want a record of saying, hey, we had people that were willing to impeach the president. We gave every Democrat and every Republican an opportunity to put on the record where they stood. And if they stand on the side of democracy, they will vote for impeachment and conviction. And if they do not vote for impeachment and conviction, then in 2 years' time, that is more fire to the fuel that we can add, advocating why we need grassroots, people-powered campaigns and Democrats to challenge the establishment and to challenge Republicans. Because at the end of the day, I think that there is a lot more appetite for working-class values that is represented by the true nature of the Democratic Party, like FDR-style policies that have just been, abandoned by the Democratic Party. And after the working class felt so abandoned, they turned to the Republicans for answers, because the Republicans at least provided a plan. The plan was awful, but at least they had a plan. Democrats have just been conveying the message of Trump bad for the past 10 years, and people have just felt patronized that the Democrats rely on people's identities to, coax them into voting for them, without recognizing that at the end of the day, the only real identity we all share is if we are working class or if we are the ruling class. And if you do not vote for impeachment, to me, that is just a sign that you are part of that ruling class that maintains a status quo that will always line your pockets. And so again, having it on the record, who is for impeachment versus who is against, that way in the future, we know who we have to hold accountable for their failure to uphold our democracy.
Well, let me tell you why this is so important right here, is because we're actually trying to get somewhere in the end and not just talking points. So what I'm hearing, I'm actually finding very useful in how I move forward as a citizen, or what to look for as an activist. Number one, comfortable politicians I can throw out, because it seems to me like the biggest part is the capitalism, the money in politics, which creates them. So forget that. Let's go to the source, money in politics. And then there's something else, which is the two-party system. Not having enough choices seems pretty effed up to me. So let's get rid of comfortable politicians. Let's move on to this system. I'm all about ranked choice voting. I'm all about any other ideas anybody has. I'll open this up. Number one, if you want to get rid of the comfortable politicians, we're talking about Citizens United, going after that. We can talk about that. If you have ideas or plans on how to get money out of politics locally where you are, if you have something that you just want to say about it, go ahead. Also, let's dive into this two-party system, ways around it. Are you okay with it? Are you not? I'll open the floor. We'll start with you, Joseph, and anybody can chime in anytime with anything.
So first things first, in an ideal world, I don't believe in any political party. It's an excuse to formulate hegemonic power and exclusionary influence. Almost all of them were created in the name of white supremacy, full stop, and marginalization of voters, full stop. Since we have political parties, I would like to attack the root of what they're used for, which is why I love ranked choice voting. And it's why I also believe that any registered political party should be able to field a candidate on the ballot line. So that means that if the Democrats and the Republicans both have a candidate on the ballot line, even if I go in tomorrow and say, this is a brand new political party and I'm registering it and creating it, that candidate should be on the ballot line. It should be very easy for there to be dozens of people on the ballot line, because at the end of the day, if you're not connecting with voters, you're going to get 2 or 3 votes. And if it's ranked choice voting, that's going to go to the person who actually honored the power of the people. And the next part of it is I want to take all corporate donations outside of the entire electoral process. There is no reason why, and I know Andrew can speak to this specifically as well. Andrew was also at a event where we protested outside of Jim Himes' town hall about his FISA scandal, or FISA, however you want to pronounce it. But he was taking money from Palantir.
Oh.
So everything he's been doing since has been a charade to pretend he's listening to us and act like we're insane. But he's already fielding their policies in Congress and working with Mike Johnson. So when and to just spotlight Andrew for a minute, Representative DeLauro's a war dem. The second any war is announced, she doesn't call anyone first other than her wealth manager.
Oh.
L3 Harris, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, I love my boys in the military, but if you're on the stock, if you're trading with stocks to make money to your campaign, you're not caring about the people. Connecticut, since before this was a country, that's why we're the Constitution state. We've given a lot to the country. We don't always get credit because we're wedged in between New York and Boston, but we've provided war effort, humans, ideas, laws, intellectual capital. We are a tour de force, and we're often forgotten because there's a wealthy pocket of money. And so people will stop here and get their piggy bank and leave. It's worth noting Jim Himes went to Westport, to a museum I never heard of that looked like a castle. Bridgeport's right there.
Wow.
I'm in Bridgeport all the time. He's not hanging out in Bridgeport. He's not taking care of the people of Bridgeport. And DeLauro doesn't always show up for her constituents as well. So I think a big aspect of this is getting rid of political parties, if they are to remain, allowing for ranked choice voting and multiple political parties, not just this binary imperialistic collection of 2, since the Republicans will be honest and say they want to kill you, and the Democrats will be condescending, kill you, and then go up to your mother and be like, he was such a sweet guy.
Oh, man.
I'm tired of them. They're both fascists.
You hate to see it.
They're both
I hate to
fascists.
see it. Caesar, talk to me, man. I see you over there reeling.
I have this idea that, honestly, the reason why the 2-party system has been so solidified is for 2 reasons, but one reason bigger than the other. First reason is capitalism. Like, the amount of money that both the DNC and the RNC have been able to amass, even in times of financial drought, they've been able to just put enough away so that when their golden goose comes up, they're able to shove all this money into their particular candidate that they want. And they pretty much drown out everybody else. I mean, I've seen back in 2020, not 2016, but 2020, the 2020 election. I remember I was in the Marine Corps. Me and all of my fellow Marines, we were all singing for Mama Joe. Everyone was like, Mama Joe. This woman was popular. And for the first time in my lifetime, people really thought that a third choice was actually possible and actually had a chance. And then here comes that DNC money. Boom. Joe Biden flies off and, the rest is history. But or even if you want to go back to 2016 with Bernie, even though Bernie was clearly running for the Democrats, it's like as soon as the Democrat money went to Hillary and they decided, hey, we're putting the money behind her, we don't care how popular you are. That was it. So it's like if we can dismantling Citizens United, like you said, Joseph, and also, but not only that, but the elimination of lobbying in Congress and the elimination of corporations being able to give any kind of money to politicians. I think the extra choices will start to pop up because now, at least financially, they'll be able to keep up. Like wherever you see a Democrat's campaign poster, you'll see the Republicans and maybe a third or fourth option, maybe even a fifth option. If enough people can grassroots get themselves out there, We'll start seeing that. So now we'll have these neck and necks of completely unheard parties that really don't exist until they get elected and stuff like that. My second thing about why I think that the two party system is still so solidified in American zeitgeist is racism and white supremacy. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's very easy. This is something going back to 2024. There was the Green Party that popped up. One of the big front runners for the Green Party. I'm forgetting the brother's name. Oh my God. I'm forgetting the brother's name, but he was a front runner, and he was saying some really good things. I cannot remember his name, but either way, he was saying some really good things that I know for a fact, like Democrats, Republicans, and even libertarians could be like, oh no, that sounds great. And they were catching momentum, but nobody heard about these people until like a month before the election. But I know that there was a growing number of like the minority classes that were, saying, I'm done with it. I'm done with the Democrats. I'm done with the Republicans. I'm going to go for this third choice over here. And the main reason why most of these minority groups are like trying to find somewhere to be is because if you go in one party, you're accepted by some, but then like as soon as like your needs come to the forefront of like being addressed, they drown that out. And they're like, no, that would be too damaging to the party. Like fighting for the Democrats, the big hanging albatross over their neck is trans rights right now. We can't listen. That's too much of a albatross around it. Let's not talk about that so much because the other side comes up with all this stuff to weaponize it and it scares us. Or another thing, the black vote. Both parties get tortured about the black vote. They were bragging about how much the black vote that Donald Trump had gotten versus how much the Democrats normally always get since the 60s. And that becomes like this weird, like albatross
moving.
Yeah, it's a goalpost moving, and it's like, but it's a huge albatross.
We got 1% more of black people, and we got 95 more black women. What are you talking about at this point? Like,
but you remember how
he's
on
giving
the news
credit
it
for
was.
that.
Yeah, and then you remember how much it was on the news that, oh my God, 1% more than ever black men voted for Trump this one time. And it was like I've never seen white people like parade around black people in a positive light than I've seen Republicans go, see, we got 1% more black people than last time. Yeah. I'm like, what? It's like, but again, like this two-party system likes to fight over minorities and stuff like that, which is why I'm just bringing it back to racism plays a clear definitive role in the fact that we are only stuck with two options, because now we like my black people and other minorities by proxy are just this child in the middle of a divorce being fought over, and there's only two places to go, but it's like every time we decide to go somewhere else, again, this is where the money comes in. Well, we'll just drown that side out, so now you only have two places to go officially. So yeah, get rid of undo Citizens United completely. But then we also have to start getting candidates individually that will take into consideration the diversity and makeup of the country itself, instead of trying to just pick and choose like one or two things to, cater to get the most people. It's like, no, like you have a nation made of diverse individuals. What is the main thing that they all care about? We can work on the little stuff like after, but like focusing entire campaigns on the things that like everyone like right now are like debating over, like it's causing this rift that only builds up hate, only one side or this side. So I don't know. That's
all right. So
that's the frustration I've been seeing.
That is 100% true, said in a way that I haven't thought about before, especially being a kid being fought over by divorced parents. It all just brings it to light. But on the other hand, my default setting is I'm bucking. I don't believe you. I don't believe none of y'all. That's my default setting. I don't believe any of you guys, because when you tell me that they didn't know who this third-party person was, and then the DNC had money, and they got rid of this person, I'm going to say, no, they didn't know who the third-party person was because they didn't show up until the presidential election. I'm going to say, I'm tired of third-party people showing up and never running for mayor, for dog catcher. What about student council? Hey, what about any type of a board membership for a union anywhere, anything? Have you done anything? And then when you come on the scene to run for president against people who have been, for good or bad, for better or for worse, running their entire lives to run for positions that service the people, and you say, well, look at me, look how bad these two are, that's not their fault anymore. Can I get a pushback on that? Because I'm not hearing that here. I'm not hearing that. And I need to know how, if we're going to be talking about if we're going to talk about just let anybody come on and anybody sign their name on there, I'm calling bullshit. How about that? Because I need to see that you've done something, that you've cared somewhere, and you're not coming in to just hijack even your 15 people. Even your 15 people.
Actually, I'm not gonna push back on you, but I am gonna make a slight pivot. Not I don't think this is a pivot. I think this is more of like a adjustment. I think that whichever progressive candidate within, let's say, the Democratic Party, for example, when they attain power, needs to do, I call it the Teddy Roosevelt method. Hey, I won. I'm making a new party now. Or I've won enough times to where I'm recognizable. I'm just say, screw it, make my own party. Do the Bull Moose method. So it's like at any point in time, like AOC, for example, like whether or not she runs for president or not, I can see if tomorrow she can make the announcement, you know what, I'm starting a new party, the Progressive Party. Whoever wants to join me. And boom, suddenly now we have like this established politician that people adore, that has the capital, that has the momentum.
Well, now we're sounding more realistic. Now this sounds
people, that can have people like, you know what? Let me run for let me stick to that. Let me go underneath her because one, she already is a part of a growing movement of leftists that can actually form something. I mean, right now, like we currently have people like fighting over what's the difference between a leftist and a liberal. It's like, but like you'll never see Democrats on Capitol Hill talk about stuff like that. They're just all Democrats.
Who cares?
That's what I'm saying. So
I'm
why not?
Done with that foolishness.
I'm so done
the
with
only
it too,
people who care about that word are the people who study that word and think that knowing the difference between a leftist and a liberal matters. It doesn't. It doesn't. My food on the table matters. Gas in the car matters.
Yep.
Right? My man's lovely, jealous dog over there who was I was dying laughing. His dog is like, what am I, chopped liver over here?
Yep.
He's not even gonna pet me. He went around and under. That matters. How much is dog food? I'd love to know, right? That matters. That matters. To anybody who's talking about the word that you don't know, or you didn't know leftists meant that, go somewhere else, man. I can't. It's the most annoying type of conversation. And I'd love to know what you think about my pushback, I get animated sometimes. This is supposedly why they love me, I'm guessing. I don't know.
No, it was perfectly good.
Andrew, what are you thinking about what I said there? And then Joseph, I'd like to hear what you think about what I said there. My pushback on that.
I think it's a very interesting idea because you're right. You never see third-party candidates go for these lower offices. The only thing that I guess I should be skeptical about is I can't say too much because I myself have never gone for one of these lower offices, and I did jump straight from nothing to a congressional office without going through that the system of going to a board of education seat or an alderman seat or a mayoral position. But at the end of the day, I think what you are saying is a reflection of why we do need something like ranked choice voting, because the even at these lower levels, some of our candidates for the Democratic Party in Milford won by 10, 20, 30 votes. And so you always have that idea that if you run to the left of a Democrat or you run to the right of a Republican, you're going to take away votes from that person and you're going to be the spoiler candidate. And so that is always an argument that I've never had a good way of comforting people and saying, voting for third party isn't a wasted vote. And so that is why I really do like things like ranked choice voting that would eliminate that argument, because then I think you would see more people running for these lower offices. The other issue is just the fact that the party infrastructure that is in place does push out third-party candidates, like the Democrats in California. I think Butch Ware is trying to run as a Green Party candidate, and they have actively tried to remove him from the ballot. I think 2 years ago in North Carolina, they actively tried to remove Jill Stein from the ballot. And so you have these two major parties that would rather maintain the status quo and work together behind the scenes to disenfranchise voters and only have marginal differences on the surface. And usually it boils down to the identity politics that the Democrats like to play. But just trying to navigate within the Democratic Party has been challenging because these parties do not want competition. They are monopolies. It's a duopoly. And just like we've seen with the conglomeration of corporations, we've seen with the conglomeration of the two parties and not representing either the working class people's interests, because money talks more than people have. And so also a lot of, running a campaign is expensive. And without having resources from a party, it's so challenging to be able to, break through that system. And so when you have these smaller parties that can't afford to even help you with local races, it creates this negative feedback loop that just makes it very challenging for anyone who is not independently wealthy or willing to risk a lot, like Joe is, like I am, like Kyle Gauck is. Unless you're willing to risk a lot of things, just do require so much money. And again, it just points to the fact that the capitalist system is built this way to prevent challenges to the people in power.
All goes back to money.
Always back to money.
Seems to me. Joseph, any thoughts on what I said?
Yeah, same. I also did not run for a lower office. I also jumped straight to the federal level.
Let me just
because
make
I wanted
a caveat here.
Sure.
Congress is a lower level. All right, this is if you're running for Congress because you have a district. That's what I mean. You can do that. But it doesn't. I'm not saying that running for school board leader isn't as important, right? But I'm talking about president, maybe even the Senate. Senate may even be a little bit more like, okay, you're talking about representing an entire state, not your district where you've lived, where you are. So that's I still do consider that a lower level. Like, don't run for president if you haven't even tried Congress yet, or even your own state Senate or anything like that, right? So there you go.
No, absolutely. One thing I've learned running for Congress, especially when I live paycheck to paycheck, especially when I deliberately filed as an independent in July 2025 and did not fundraise the rest of 2025. I wanted people to know I was non-establishment. I wanted people to know I was there for them. Wanted them to know I was putting skin in the game and not feeling entitled to them rallying behind me, right? Everyone wants to be the next Zoran Mamdani, but no one wants to be themselves. And I really wanted to let people know, like, I'm willing to put the blood in, right? I'm living and dying next to you. That's not changing, but I'm willing to fulfill this role and remove a bad faith Democrat. And it's only recently that the FEC has actually accepted my reamendment of filing for a Democrat. So I'm now under the Democratic line. I would be incredibly supportive of new infrastructure. If I can't get in there and pass something that changes the way parties and money is, I would be super welcoming to making it a less sterile biosphere. It needs to be an ecosystem of thought. And when you have, one thing I've learned in running for Congress is how much of a business it is. There are people sharking around who make hundreds of dollars an hour as consultants. And there are people who will say, oh, well, I don't want to support you because you don't take it seriously. You don't have banners. You don't have this. You don't have that. And I'm like, hey, Thank you. You want to sponsor it? Do you want to give money for it? Do you want to at least give me information, an in-district union print shop that my campaign, when I raise enough money, can go support? There are people who will sit there and condemn any political advocate who's coming in because of this hegemonic power. And even the Democratic Party. I've gotten a lot of really good love. I really have. And I'm thankful from people in the Democratic Party who are happy that someone who is not an entrenched establishment guy is coming in and taking a shot at a big dog. But I've also had a lot of people in the Democratic Party who treat me like a plague and have actively tried to sabotage me. And they think I don't know, but I know. And it's a shame because there is a chilling effect. There are people in the Democratic Party who are so scared to lose their job, they won't even talk to me. They will ignore me. And if they're saying something to me, their other shoulders turn to walk away. So they can't even get an accidental picture. So I would support anything that will dethrone these hegemonic structures because, and this may be a little too big of a note to end on, but I'm happy to throw it out to the floor. I think modern political parties are offshoots of the theory of the Electoral College, which was created because of the 3/5 compromise. And so they can't separate themselves from the inherent racism and the inherent elitism and classism that bore them. That's what gave birth to political parties, ultimately, because they wanted to control the will of the people because of the tyranny of the majority. They were so worried that we were unworthy of the democracy we were supposed to have. And we can't have that anymore. That's a cancer.
Yeah,
Caesar
was going in. I want to say, when we say political parties' birth, we're talking about in this country, the idea that it has been, even where the words left and right come from, those for and against the king, we're talking a whole different countries. They existed, but in this country, that's what you mean. Go ahead, Caesar.
I've been waiting for someone for so long to talk about how the Electoral College is pretty much based on the 3/5. Thank you for finally saying it. It's like people don't realize that everything we did, everything, the backbone of our political skeleton is built around how we tried to keep people of color out of it. It's like,
yeah. And I mean, slave states are why we have a Congress and a Senate. We couldn't agree on any other method.
Yeah, it was like when people talk like I got. People don't want to talk about it. But not to get us taken off there. But it's like going in that direction because we can say that for a different cast. But no, it's so like you make an excellent point. The amount of like snakery that like people who are running will do, or the loudest people complaining about why you don't do A, B, and C will be the people that will never touch campaign finances or help you out or stuff like that. It's like, oh no, you need banners. Are you gonna buy them? No. Then why are you saying anything? Get out. You're not a part of the conversation. I remember I was helping a buddy of mine run for county commissioner. Is the closest thing I ever got to being in a campaign for anything. I'm planning to one day run for like my city soon, but I got a taste of it. I was helping my buddy who was running for county commissioner, Pender County, and he's a registered Republican. I am a registered independent. I like him. I know his personality. I know his politics. I support him because he's a good dude. But the people he was running against were just like corporate dudes, like shit, like good old boy shills, and like it was like weird because they were all smiling in each other's faces. They're technically all in the same party, smiling in each other's faces, but the devious things they would do in the background were just like, it put the nastiest taste in my mouth. And I remember talking to so many of the people coming to vote, and like when they would ask me what my personal opinion was on politics, they would hear me speak and they go, "You sound like a Republican." I'm like, "No, nothing like you all." Which is funny because that was the day I learned that when it comes to the basic things that every American wants, we all want the same thing. We just start flipping out when we get the label on top of it. Oh, like Democrat, Republican, all this. It's like, but if you want gas to be cheaper, groceries to be cheaper, your taxes to not be like, screwing you every year. And, us not going to war every 5 years whenever we feel like it. We're all kind of on the same page. But here come these politicians coming in with their banners and their titles and all that type of stuff. And suddenly now we all forget that what we were asking for originally. It's like, no, this it's whatever. But yeah, no. But going back to that point where they're like, yeah, no, like we're so divided. Our political system, two-party system, is so broken down because it's essentially just been abused for close to 150 years, and this is the only way it can function now is through abuse, is through taking advantage of systems and corruption and stuff like that. Because if you try to make it healthy again by hey, we're gonna try to nurse it back to health, it won't. It'll just die. We would essentially be taking off life support. So yeah, no, we need to start looking at individuals running and say, screw the parties. Like, what is this person promising me? What is this individual promising me? What is this individual's politics? And can I trust this individual to, despite having their own politics, sticking to those guns instead of conforming to the party that they had to sign with just to get the recognition they needed? Because that's the one, and that's like for you, Joseph, like when you're describing how, and also Andrew, like you guys are describing, you're just jumping right in. You didn't start at the city level. You didn't start at the lower levels. You're going straight into Congress and stuff like that. And I've been told so many times by different people, because when I talked about my political ideations later in my life, they were like, hey, which side are you going to sign up for? Because if you do independent, you'll never be seen. And I hate that idea. But at the same time, it's like, well, if I do sign for either one, I have to still stand on my guns, my independent guns, while running on that side. And that's what I look for in a candidate. Like, what do you believe in? And did he change at any point in time when he finally picked a side to sit on? So there's that.
Well, here's the deal with that. We could go a whole lot longer than we have on this issue, quite frankly. But there is a doctor that's built in to the Constitution. The doctor that's supposed to be there to fix these things when it happens is the fourth estate. The doctor in a government hey, you guys like my animal? He's my spirit animal. You see him back there? Look at that. Hey. What?
I've been admiring it. It's like a good idea light bulb that goes off when you're about to cook.
Yeah. The idea is in a government for and of and by the people, the scalpel, the doctor, is the people who bring what's happening in the government to the people. Our eyes on it. It has failed us. It's the reason why no one wants to stand next to you, Joseph. Because with or without money, that picture is worth $1,000. Okay, it's the reason why. It's the reason why if you haven't run for school board, it's impossible to run for presidency, because the what you're going to need to get out there won't be given to you by a fair and just media. It's going to be given to the person who wants access, and you don't have any. I'm not sure even how to go about this. I love the conversation we're having, and YouTube, I think that if you were here for the entire hour, there's a lot in here that you can take with you to your community. There's a lot in here that you can take to your ballot box and to your understanding of it and how you talk to others. The one thing that's harder, and I'm just going to ask if anybody has the ideas, because we do have a media professional in here with us. How do we get this doctor back on track? How do we get this fourth estate, this prescribed medicine inside of the Constitution back into looking like something that actually does what it's supposed to do?
So if no one else is, So when you look at these news organizations, they're owned by corporations, and there's something called the fiduciary responsibility, and the fiduciary responsibility of a corporation is back to their shareholders. So the news market, it's a market. It's not actually a public service anymore. It is another force of the capitalist system that demands that profit be made. And the best way for these news corporations to make profit is to engage in rhetoric that is inflammatory, that gets more viewership, that gets more clicks. And there's no real incentive for these news organizations to present facts and to present a balanced approach, because that is not emotional, and that is not something that is going to bring people in. Like, news should really be boring. It should be boring. It should be factual. It should not be an entertainment show. And at the end of the day, I don't think we really have news as much as we have current events entertainment. And a lot of that does go back to the Reagan administration when he got rid of the fairness doctrine. But again, as long as, CNN is owned by a corporation, the New York Times is owned by New York Times Corporation, and Washington Post is owned by Amazon, as long as the corporate interests have control over news organizations, news will always be to the benefit for profit and not as a public good to make sure that the electorate is well informed.
Can a new fairness doctrine work?
I intend on trying when I make it into Congress.
Of course. Yeah, no, a new fairness doctrine is absolutely necessary, almost, because he's absolutely right. I mean, the fact that like as much as we hate Fox News, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, pick one. Like they're all owned by their own version of Rupert Murdoch. And if Rupert Murdoch does not like a situation, Rupert Murdoch will have no problem just going, "Hey, that thing, don't talk about it."
So here's what I mean: a new fairness.
You can talk about it, but we'll put it down here. We'll put it down here where no one ever looks, like on the online pages. Like I've noticed stuff.
This is what I mean. Hold on now. This is what I mean. Like, we're saying their new fairness doctrine will work. The reason why it worked the first time is because the first time the government owned the airwaves. What I'm saying is now, if we're talking about the problem is everybody having a new Rupert Murdoch, I'm not sure how much the fairness doctrine is going to work if the corporations are still going to end up owning the airwaves. Does the new fairness doctrine include decoupling that? No, I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off. There's a lag. So I truly believe that's why we need to have a clear separation between what's market and industry and what's public good. Because there's always going to be for-profit news, and there's always going to be tyrants, and there's always going to be rich folks who want to move their money around. But if we have a public good, then we'll always be able to center back to that. In a similar way that we should not be allowing billionaires and private equity to buy up residential property, driving the housing market up, we shouldn't be able to allow any of these people to buy privately owned media. The whole Elon Musk buying Twitter should never have happened.
I thought you said something else there.
But that's not something.
Started with that SH. I'm sorry. Go
No,
I mean,
I mean that's a predatory action, right? The thing I like to tell people all the time is, for example, whenever people look down on sex work or people who work on OnlyFans, they are private contractors who own their own business, but any billionaire can just buy all their business. They don't have a union, right? So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack about who's actually now a marginalized group. They just don't know it yet because the billionaires haven't attacked them yet. Right? So we need to create a very big difference between here's a public good that will be protected. It is not meant to be profitable. It is meant to be efficient and make our quality of life go up. The post office, libraries, really, really high quality public access information. Because Alexis de Tocqueville wrote in On Democracy years and years ago, and he wrote for about 100 pages on it, if you do not have quality journalism, the politics of the kitchen table in America wouldn't work. And I think since he wrote that, people have essentially deconstructed that as an instruction manual on how to overtake the mind, how to overtake the journalistic integrity of the newspaper, of periodicals, and of course of the invention of television and radio, and really turn people against their own interests. We need a public good version of this. Otherwise, as Malcolm X once said, they're going to teach you to love your own oppressor. That's American spin. We're really good at that. Our country is really good at spin. And I can condemn it while acknowledging the skill level, because if I don't do that, we can't beat it. I'm a martial artist. You get in the ring knowing your weaknesses and theirs, because that's how it is, right? So I think we need to create, and in Congress we'll do this, an actual bracket, a legally protected bracket. Will change the entire legal verbiage of how this is looked at to create protected social services, protected public goods, protected access to information and technology. Because right now our data is being bought and sold. How long before Amazon can buy all my biometric data and plant me at a crime scene? Or say, Joe had a parking ticket 10 years ago. The AI is going to trigger anytime Joe tries to get the leasing agent to give him the ability to get the loan to go into this park.
2 weeks.
How long before we're persecuted long form? Right? Like, how long? So we need these guardrails for multiple reasons, because as Andrew said earlier, everything's connected. So the more we fix this garden, the more we fix this ecosystem, the more we can have a permaculture environment where everything's helping each other. Mass reforms that buttress and strengthen each other. And sometimes not even reforms. Some shit you just
abolish ICE.
Some things just
abolish ICE.
And we have to build
abolish ICE. We're not even there
Amen
yet.
to that.
Oh, that's a whole different
Amen to
show,
that.
but just abolish ICE. Just saying that one time so everybody knows where we stand. Abolish ICE.
Abolish ICE.
Abolish
So
ICE.
here's the deal. I think this is a great place to end. Number one, the idea that our laws have not caught up with technology for 50 years is a great show to have. It's a whole nother one. But I like the idea of when we're talking about media, the fourth estate, and its public good, coupled with, if we can get that in line, and it seems like you have a plan, or at least are willing to build a coalition to develop one in Congress, Joseph. And Andrew, you would be willing to get on that coalition and then talk about a new fairness doctrine. We have something that can be coupled together that won't spit in the face of the super rich oligarchs that will knock it down because they can still own what they have to own, but have to follow certain rules. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. I love this. This is why, people, this is the actual political panel that doesn't suck. I'm the only one getting loud here, right? I really don't get people on here to yell at each other. That may change if I had Caesar on with somebody else. I've seen him get loud. He's too tired right now with what's happening.
We haven't talked about anything that makes me like exceptionally angry yet.
Yeah.
I'm at moderate rage level right now. Also, my little ones here, I don't like them hearing me get loud.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
So, but yeah.
Listen, thank you guys so much for being here. There's a lot more to talk about. I'm going to be doing this every single week from now until the election. I know that there might be primaries going on. If you guys win those primaries, we want you here. If you guys don't, we're going to want you here, right? We're supporting everybody who supports this democracy and to fight against fascism. Caesar, Joseph, Andrew, thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you let me know how to spread the word about you and help you where you are, and as well as to get this to those people when it comes out. And you guys out there, the reason why there's a panel, the reason why there's a political panel is because at the end you're supposed to get something, learn something, find out something, or be spurred to learn something. If that doesn't happen on the political panel you're watching, it's just a TV show. That's it. Okay, so it matters to me that you've heard some things and think of some things. I know I have, that now I'm going to take into my daily life or into my ballot box, period. So with that being said, thank you once again for joining us here. Thank you all for joining me here. And here you have it on your left. with Drill Sergeant Doug.
Go, go, go! Resist! Resist! Resisting! Resist! Fuck this shit's going down, that's right here, right now. The political drain, just the news you need. Nothing driven by greed, no sipping Kool-Aid, Sims cooking on that